Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 6 of this 30-day Living an Authentic Life Challenge. We are having a conversation about identity, and I'm wondering how many of you truly know who you are at the core of your being? That's a question that I was asked at one point, and I struggled with the answer. And if you're an individual that's struggling with that answer as well, today we're going to unpack some elements about identity. Because as we walk through this 30-day authentic life challenge, we are going deep on several topics. And we've already covered some pieces that can support you. But if you're unsure about who you are, then today is the day that you get to have a deeper discussion about it. So for those of you that are joining us live, thank you for being here. For those of you that are not with us live, then you need to join us. So click the link below and join the conversation because this is just a snippet. And in this question, when I was remembering where I lost my identity, it occurred in the aftermath of the chaos of that divorce. You know how you pour yourself so much into a relationship or a job or a thing, whatever it is that you are pouring so much of who you are into, at the end, you may have lost you. And you may need to reprogram your identity. And the way that you do that is paying attention to what you're hearing. We don't often think about how much we learn by what we hear. And I remember an older lady telling me, she would say, baby, when you hear with your heart. Now, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, y'all. But as I've gotten older, it began to dawn on me hearing with your heart. Hmm, that began was more clear because some of you know that I'm dyslexic. It's my superpower. And being dyslexic causes me to look at words in a different way. And when I look at the word heart, sometimes I don't see it. There are moments heart looks like hear or ear. So either way, I get both of those dynamics to hear and ear and heart. So it's all connected to me. But to help me really be clear that I'm really looking at the words correctly, I have tools that I use to support me. What tools are you using in your life to support you being able to hear what you need to hear in this existence? Because as we walk through certain things, the tools that we use will help us get clear about how to identify what's happening in our world. So for me, when I recognize that the word is actually heart, I know that it begins with H, and I associate that with here, and it ends with T, and I associate that with there. So that when I'm looking at heart, I dissect it with my tools to be clear that what I am hearing with my ear goes from here to there. So you got a special way that you learn to be able to hear what you need to give you clarity about who you are and how you function. It will give you insights that you can use in multiple areas of your life. Because just like hearing happens on multiple levels, we don't often think about that. So, thunder. If you have thunder that's occurring in your world, thunder can be felt. It's not just something that you experience with your ears. You experience thunder with your whole being. You hear in multiple layers as well. Think about somebody saying, I felt like you said, and you didn't say that, but they felt like it because feelings are the voice of the body. Or maybe somebody says, I thought you said. They're listening through reason because reasoning is the voice of the mind. But what truly seals an identity for me when I was going through trying to reset myself and get clear about who I am, I had to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit, better known as your conscience. Yeah, we give it a whole bunch of different names. When I finally made a decision to decide that my conscience was the voice of the Holy Spirit, I got more clarity in my identity. And God started having his words give me more insight so I can be clear, Tanya, you are not who they say you are. Because being dyslexic sometimes can make you feel like you are less than. And now, in this day and age, it's okay. Because in a lot of ways, people are okay with that learning disability, even though they're not okay with several others. And I have multiple neurodivergent being elements to my being. So knowing that I have to hear a different voice when I am being clear about Tanya's identity, God's voice gives me clarity. Because in Psalm 139, God told me that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. And it is in there that I continue to read. And as I read more and more, God said, I'm a masterpiece. God said, I'm glorious. God will give you greater insight about your identity as well, so that you can walk out of whatever you are dealing with an unshakable confidence. So here's something that you can try. A strategy that I use that I often call my heart and ear alignment moment. Connect with your inner voice. What are you saying to yourself? Because some people are selling themselves all kinds of bad things that is just continuing the chaos that they've heard in their past and some moments in their present. Take 10 minutes and listen to your inner dialogue. Ask yourself, what am I hearing about myself that does not truly belong there? And then you replace those thoughts that is not serving you well. Sometimes our thoughts are holding us hostage. Give them meaning that supports you. For me, I included God's Psalm 139. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Because when I am in moments that make me feel like I am less than, I need to remember what the Holy Spirit said. Not what somebody thought, not what somebody felt, what's truly said about my being. Here's the second thing. Do an identity inventory check. When I share this with my clients, I do that to help them reclaim who they are after a loss or major transition or just the change. Because right now, for a lot of us, we're going through some changes that we are finding difficult to deal with or work through. Ask those people that are around you one word about you. And I mean one word because they're going to give you a whole bunch of stuff about you depending on who you ask. But when you ask for one word, it forces people to truly think about you. And then circle the words that align with who you are. Because once you get clear about who you are with what's being said, discard everything else that doesn't belong to you. And that way you'll detach yourself from the labels that have shaped you by circumstances in your past. Because when I did this exercise in the aftermath of my divorce, I got words that didn't align with where I was moving. I got words because of the different pockets of people that are in my existence, because depending on who you interact with, when they met you, what you were experiencing, you'll get a couple of different words. So from some childhood friends, I got a whole lot of words that did not support who I was at that moment. And from newer friends, well, they met me in my pain. So a lot of their words were describing my pain. But what I had to do was be clear about what the noise was and start making certain that I sort of channeled my thoughts around the noise so that I could hear what I was missing out on me. I remember a story about a man that went for a job interview. And I was reminded of the story because we are in the United States. I don't know how many of you are listening because I know this is being streamed in a bunch of different places, but the United States, just like a lot of other country, goes through ebbs and flows in time. And we are walking through an experience that mirrors what happened to us in the Great Depression. In the United States in 1929, we had the stock market crash and it put our country in a position where people, well, experiencing a lot of what they're experiencing right now. Long lines, trying to get help, and they were trying to figure out, how can I get through this moment? Well, this man went to one of those lines for an interview. And in the interview, there was this loud tapping that was happening over the loudspeakers. And in the tapping, while all these people in this line, this man had a lot of people in front of him, but he listened to the tapping. And then he jumped out of the line, ran to the head of the line, opened up the door. And when he got in front of the door, the man that was sitting behind the desk said, "You're hired." Now, how did this man get that job when everybody else had been standing in line for hours? That tapping. Well, that was Morse code. And in the Morse code, the message was saying, if you can hear and understand what this is, step out of the line, come through the door, you are hired for the job. Some of us have got to be able to hear what's happening because it will save you from the chaos that's occurring in your world. Some of us have got to hear what's happening because it will save you from the heartaches that you're experiencing. Some of us have got to hear because it will give you clarity to reposition what's happening in your world, because there is a flood that you may be saved from, because you can hear and bypass what everybody else is experiencing because you are tuned in to the heart posture that is designed for you to receive what you need. And so for today, day 6, I went a little longer than I intended in the public eye, but we're going to continue this conversation. If you are right here on Zoom, join us. Go to the Reset Strategies community so we can extend the conversation. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose. And on you.